Generally speaking, can you hear? The other, generally speaking, is that the practice of calm abiding, or jine as it's called in Tibetan, has as its kind of clear function is stability. But it's rare for anyone to ask what stability is, since we have pretty good understanding of the word stability, pretty easy to apply it to all sorts of circumstances. But our usual understanding of the word stability may not be completely apropos in the context that we're looking at right now. If we're talking about the ability to rest with an undistracted mind, resting with complete clarity upon an experience for an hour, a week, what's the limit? If that's our measure of stability, most of us are in trouble. Even more than that, the entire Dharma is in trouble, since so few of us might be able to rest in that state, which by definition would be effortless. So we need to refine what our understanding of stability is. There are great benefits, it is said, I have heard, by virtue of being able to rest in a state of calm abiding for long periods of time. Hours, days, even longer than that. But those benefits do not accrue or occur when we want them. So wanting those benefits apparently pretty much neutralizes the potential benefit. The want pollutes the benefit. And so you're left with nothing. It is commonly said that working in the direction of enlightenment is positive. Wanting enlightenment can be a problem. First of all, it's confused. Enlightenment is an experience, clearly, not a conceptual proposition. So how do you answer the question, why do you want enlightenment? It's difficult to answer the question without moving into a conceptual mode. And you want to understand it because we think that we'll get it more easily if we understand it conceptually. So pretty much it's been my experience listening to various teachers over 30 years that wanting any meditation state is a problem. What's important is to become good at the process, and then you see the result of it, and you just continue to do it. It's like almost everything else that we do in our lives. But since the deeper stages of meditation are not accessible at all to the intellect, that seems to be our biggest obstacle, is that we demand to understand it conceptually somehow. And I don't mean that we really demand it in a certain way, but it's like if I can't have a conceptual understanding of it, I feel like I have no understanding of it. And we all have the experience, completely non-conceptually, of walking. We get up, we move around. There was a time when we got up and fell down, got up and fell down, got up and fell down. And that was an experience too. Utterly non-conceptual, we might say. And little by little, we got up, took 2 steps, fell down, got up, took 2 steps, fell down. And little by little, completely non-conceptually, we stood up, we walked, we jumped, we ran, we did all the things that we're used to doing. All of that can be described conceptually, anatomically, in myriad ways. None of those conceptual add-ons are of any benefit at all to getting up and walking. This is actually not a specious comparison. It is actually the same exact case with our meditation. We need to understand the principal pieces of it and engage in our practice with that like we're learning to walk. And we will get the result in the same manner that we got the result of getting up, falling down, getting up, falling down. And far beyond that, we get a lot more on top of that. We have to learn to relax, or we won't be able to do it. Just like you have to be willing to stand up and fall down, or you won't learn to walk. We don't need to stand up and fall down here, but we need to discover what is relaxation and what is not. What are the friends of relaxation and what are the enemies of relaxation? Not as people, but as just habits that we have. Relaxation occurs in at least 3 different ways. There's a physical relaxation, which we're all familiar with. We wake up in the morning, we don't want to be awake. We relax a little more and we go back to sleep. We want to relax without going to sleep. And furthermore, we want to not just relax, we want to relax in a way that we are more awake than we are when we're not relaxing, when our mind is busy doing things. We would like to just be clear and completely relaxed with no agenda whatsoever. That piece is a problem. We are agenda freaks. It's almost impossible for us to not have a goal. So we give ourselves a goal, because otherwise we can't eat. So we give ourselves a goal to not do certain things. So we could state it something like this. If I'm a scientist and I work in the laboratory and I'm looking at some kind of disease or some other thing through the microscope, and I'm trying to see something that I've never seen before. I look through that little microscope, and I look and I see and I explore and I move the slides around and I do that sort of thing. A sense of anxiety will not help. Tenseness of any kind will not help. I need to relax, just look in there and see it. When I was younger, I used to go camping in the desert with friends who were all rock hounds. And they would go around and they would pick up rocks and they would look at them and they'd say, "Oh, look what I found." We weren't looking for gold. We weren't looking for anything that had economic value. It was some other thing which, frankly, I didn't really understand. But they would find nice rocks, and they would distinguish between agate and quartz and all these different things, which I also didn't understand, or why anybody would want to, but they wanted to. So this is kind of like us as meditators. Nobody who doesn't do it understands why you would do it. So, in fact, more likely, they'll wonder what's wrong with you. You don't talk enough. You don't move around enough. You sit way too long to remain alive. And so you'll have lots of strange questions, which are best answered by strange answers. We can ask ourselves those questions and ponder them in a way which is actually useful. Why am I doing this? Why would I do this? What am I getting from it? And we can answer those questions in a number of ways, which will not be exhaustive. That is to say, there'll be many things left to look at, but there are some things which are exceedingly helpful. If you can place, for example, let's say you have an illness and you have a fever, and you know you have a fever because you're hot, you don't feel good. If you can pick out of that array of experiences that you're having that you don't normally have when you are, quote, feeling good, then you can use all of those experiences as objects of your meditation. It takes a little bit of, you have to be a little strange. Because mostly when you're not feeling well, you have to groan a lot and make noises and ask for things and demand things and all. And if you don't do those things, there's something wrong. In fact, you might get hospitalized for an unknown defect of some kind. But as long as you don't talk to anybody, nobody knows that you might put your awareness on the sensation of heat, which is utterly non-conceptual. Exactly what we want. We want an experience which is difficult to conceptualize. But the only thing you can do is say, it's hot, it's cold, it hurts, it's this, it's that. And especially if it's something that 99.9% of the time you recover from anyway, and you know that. So it's just an array of sensations, not so pleasant. But if you put your awareness on those not so pleasant things, you will have a number of experiences that, of course, you don't normally have because you're not normally sick. And then you discover, oh, this is interesting. I can actually put my awareness on this just like I can on the itch on the end of my nose and just watch it come and go. And then someone will say, why are you not groaning? You'll be back in that place again. That also is interesting. Like, what is different when you do not engage in a dialogue with yourself about something which does not require a dialogue? Just to be present with the sensation, but not just present, which you're sort of forced to do anyway, lying on your back, but present in the sense of seeing it, your awareness on the feeling. It is the object of your awareness. So your awareness just rests there on the sensation like it would on any other sensation. There are discoveries to be made in that process. The first thing again is relaxation. Can you relax when you're sick? Of course. Are you likely to relax? No. You're likely to struggle with it, just like everything else. And I had a fight today with so-and-so. You're struggling with that. Can you relax with it? I wish I could. It just goes like that. There is nothing in our experience that we are barred from noticing. Nothing in our experience that we cannot just relax with and be present with and notice and put our awareness on. Not a single thing. And in the process of doing that, there are discoveries that can be made, that are naturally made, that are almost unavoidably made, that, again, you cannot penetrate with the intellect. So then you make that discovery. Oh, there actually are things that cannot be penetrated with the intellect, where the intellect is of no value. In fact, if you use the intellect for it, it's kind of like the proverbial thing, using a sharp knife and the sharp edge of the blade to hammer nails. Not so good. So in the same way, our meditation brings us into touch with insights into our experiences, which change the way our meditation works with those things, which changes our relationship with all of our experience. And just to push it out to the edge, it shouldn't be too difficult to imagine. This is a very useful process at the time of dying. Some of us will die. In my experience watching other people die from time to time, most people do not like it. Some actually do. So it's an interesting question. How does one become so prepared for any experience which arises that even pending near death becomes worthwhile? So, I'm not proposing that today, but I think it's good to, we're starting with very kind of non-challenging experiences when we're looking at experiences in the body and itches and other kinds of things. But the intention is to move forward into more challenging areas that provoke us and challenge the limits of our ability to just remain present with certain things. So let's continue with the meditation for a bit. Do your best you can. First with the refuge in bodhicitta, 3 times together.
Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, I and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, and all beings go for refuge to the sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness. Until the summit of enlightenment is reached, and all beings go for refuge, sources of true refuge. I will now practice the absorption of calm abiding in order to release all beings from their particular suffering and establish them in lasting peace and happiness.
Short sessions, 3 to 10 seconds. Admit that you have relaxed for a short time and that you have witnessed the mind being still on occasion. Abandon the meditation utterly for a minute or 2 or 3, and then engage in a short session again, over and over like that. So we'll take another break, the last one before lunch, and dedicate the merit now.
By this virtue may I quickly realize Mahamudra and establish all beings without exception in this state. Again, silence on the break up until noon.